Kent and Townie sing this song, doo-da, doo-da. Kent and corruption all day long, oh doo-da day. Here's another untold story of many in the Karen Reid case. Much has been made of her drink driving, as is evident in the civil lawsuit filed by Paul O'Keefe. So let's start there. If the O'Keefes truly believed Karen was intoxicated and overserved at the bar, then got behind the wheel, and this is what led to John O'Keefe's death, then why aren't they mad at all of the people who call themselves John's friends that allowed that to happen? They claim that Karen Reid was so outwardly and visibly intoxicated, enough to go after the bars that they claim overserved her. But if they truly believe that, then wouldn't they be going after all of the individuals that were with them too? If your family member was killed because he got in the car with someone who was so visibly and outwardly intoxicated, according to you, wouldn't you be mad at the people who claim to care so much about him? Yet they let someone drive and let him get in the car with her, someone who you allege was so obviously intoxicated. But curiously, the O'Keefes, both publicly and in their civil suit, place no blame on the McAlberts, the people who were last seen with Karen and John, and who could have stopped them from drink driving, who arguably had a duty to stop them from drink driving, and yet did no such thing. Using this logic, as argued in the civil suit, the McAlberts and Brian Higgins could also have stopped Karen Reid and John O'Keefe. They could have prevented all of this. And isn't that what friends do for friends anyway? Shout out to Olivia Lambo for raising this topic. It's just one of the many untold stories that I would like to shine a light on. As somebody who is generally the designated driver, because I don't drink, I certainly would be the first one to take the keys from somebody who looks like they're going to drink drive. Of course, I've never had to because I've always offered to drive, and most of my friends have the brains to accept the offer. But it does raise some valid questions. If you blame your loved one's death on someone being overly and obviously intoxicated at the bar with their friends and then driving, then at the very least, wouldn't you have questions for those other people who were there and allowed that to happen? Never mind the fact that the person pursuing the lawsuit has previously been charged for injuring somebody while drink driving, or that Chris Albert himself has murdered somebody while drink driving, or that Kevin Albert did a runner from a scene of an accident and was traced back to 34 Fairview Road due to leaking oil all the way back to 34 Fairview Road. Never mind any of that. Just focus on how many people were drink driving that night, because it wasn't just Karen. We saw in the bar footage that Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were pretty tanked. Fairly certain that this little grab-ass game that they were playing isn't something that they do when they're sober. We heard most of the witnesses that were there that night get up on the stand and admit to driving after drinking. Most of us paid pretty close attention to the O'Keefe's reactions to witness testimony. What we didn't see was shock and horror when those they are defending admitted to drink driving. On the most part, all we really saw were smirks and expressions of satisfaction when witnesses made allegations against Karen that confirmed their biases. For me to believe, and obviously Olivia, that the O'Keefes taking the moral high ground on drink driving is a genuine concern about drink driving, I would have to ignore all of the things I've mentioned so far. But wait, there's more. During their text exchanges that day, when they were arguing back and forth about John having hit her with a pillow, he admits that he had barely sobered up while he was planning to go out and drink again. I don't know about you guys, but to me personally, this reeks of John having a drinking problem. There are also hints and evidence that Paul O'Keefe may have a drinking problem. And we've also heard testimony and seen with our own eyes some of the actions since court of the McAlbert clan that indicate many of them also may have drinking problems. I'm not saying that they do. I'm just saying what I perceive from my own experience of living with a binge drinker. This is a type of alcoholism that isn't predicated on drinking all day every day. Many binge drinkers can go months without a drink, but they cannot be around alcohol or others drinking without writing themselves off. It's from this experience that I'm failing to see the O'Keefe's allegations of Karen being a raging alcoholic in any of the bar footages or even her day-to-day conduct, but I am seeing glimpses of these behaviours being exhibited by the McAlbert crew and even the O'Keefes themselves. From a psychological perspective, this could be seen as projection, or as some might say, confession through projection. But what would I know? I'm not a psychologist. It just seems to me that the untold story here is an ongoing drinking problem with pretty much everybody except for Karen. And that's why it's difficult for me to believe that the O'Keefes have any moral high ground to stand on regarding drink driving. A, because they're not angry with anybody who had the power to prevent Karen from drink driving with John as a passenger that night. B, because they're angry at the bars for serving Karen but have made no mention of the other people who were downing shooters with her and John that night. C, they have never raised an eyebrow at all the drink driving that went on that night. D, they've never mentioned Paul O'Keefe, Chris Albert or Kevin Albert's drink driving, all of which harmed someone else. And also, finally, most of the characters that we have spoken of so far appear to have drinking problems themselves. Again, not saying they do, just saying how it appears to me, and most likely many of my viewers. There seems to be a lot of pot calling the kettle black going down, and very few calling it out.